Hey, welcome back to another video. We're doing the tutorial for the 6x6 door. This is just in the same spot as it was. I copied it over there just for looking back at it. This version does not work because of stuff, but we will build it today. I'll show you the opening at the end. So those are the resources. What you want to do. You obviously will know where your 6x6 frame is going to go. If you don't, you're going to place 6 blocks, then you're going to miss a block, and go up 1, get rid of this one, go up 5 more, place a block, go 6 across, get rid of this one, place this one, go 6 down, and remove this one. So, self-explanatory. There's some things you need to know about the store before building it. First thing is, you're going to go up, you're going to have your door, you're going to go to the bottom right corner, so here, go 1 block over, break it, dig 4 blocks down, so like down to here because this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Under your floor, you can place 2 sticky pistons like this, so you have 2 blocks of air and then your floor. Place an observer here, and it does, so it creates this thing. And what you want is to place like a redstone block and power it. You want the top piston extending, not the bottom one, because in some locations, if I try it over here, you will see that this one extends, and you do not want this, because that's the problem with that one over there. So if there's a problem, it won't matter because that's the copy version. So you want it to be like this. So if you have a block here, it will retract. And you could try this and try to place and replace it, but if you go like this, it won't matter. So that's important. I'm just going to keep it here for purposes. So that's important. So I'm just removing that. Next, on the top, you want to build, you're going to find the 4 central blocks, so it would be these guys. And you're going to go from here 1, 2, 3, 4, and place sticky pistons facing down. Then a line of blocks that you're going to use to build, repeaters on them, 3 blocks here with dust, an observer here with the hopper facing down, 1 facing this way, sticky piston with the lamp, and a 4 tick in this. So I'll give you a little bit just to copy this. So I'll give you about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what you want to do is to make sure this is going to work. It has to be in the same spot as that was, is when you power the 4 tick, the signal will go through. Because in some locations, the signal will not go through, and the top will not work. So if I try it here, you can see those powered, this didn't. And I can even prove it to you by doing this. Oh, it did go through, it's just that it doesn't physically power the piston like this. But actually you need this wherever this is. So I just realized that if you have a dust like this, it won't power, but some locations it will power like this. But it will always power with the repeater, I believe. Those are the repeaters. So if I power this again, it won't turn on because it's the 0 tick pulse, and it will go through. So that's what you need for the top. We're just going to move this. And so the frame that you want is 4 by 10 by 19. And your bottom of your door is going to start under your floor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, I believe. Because this is, yes, it's going to start down here. So you're going to dig under your floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, and keep the 7th one. You might have to dig under it to place observers facing down. So I have this, and then top you have to dig about 5 blocks. I suggest you dig about 7 or 8, maybe 9. So that's the door. The resources are in here. So sticky piston, these are going to push them, pull blocks. These are going to push blocks, but not retract them. These give out 1 tick pulses, so 103 observers, 10 pistons, 74 sticky pistons, 53 redstone dust, 21 repeaters, not a coincidence, 8 comparators, 19 droppers, kind of a lot, 33 hoppers, so you gotta craft a lot of, get a lot of iron, 7 redstone torches, 9 note blocks, and they have to be note blocks. These can also be activated rails. They're slightly cheaper. I prefer power because I think they look better. 15 of them. 1 redstone block, that's used in the piston tape. 1 pressure plate, because if you remember from the showcase, I'll link that in the description. You have this pressure plate, and that's used in the bottom. You have this lamp, 2 lamps, and then 1 slab. You can see over there. It's used for that, to make sure it doesn't break. And the slab can also be a cobweb if it wants. I can't accept that right now, so I'm gonna have to turn off chat. Well, we're gonna make it just off. Sorry, I didn't do that. Let's continue. This can be a cobweb if you want the door to be slower, because I find it looks cleaner, so I'm just gonna do it with the slab. In total, you need about 49 building blocks. I believe that's the amount of building blocks. If there's a miscalculation, just let me know in the comments. And there's 49 building blocks. I suggest you just get a stack to make sure, but if you're color coding this, you need 19 white wool. Those are for the inputs. 7 red wool, 4 orange wool, 7 yellow wool, 2 lime wool, 4 blue wool, 4 cyan wool, 2 magenta wool, and these are for slabs. They can all be slabs. It can be 9 slabs total, or 9 transparent blocks that are not redstone blocks. I use glass because I like that, so you need 1 white glass, 1 orange, 1 yellow, 1 lime, 3 blue glass, and then 2 magenta. You need 4 chest minecarts. Make sure they're chests. I suggest you use chests instead of hoppers. Those are used up here for the extra moose circuit, which we'll build a little bit later, but not too later. But you need 1 minecart. It can actually be any minecart. It can even be a command block minecart if you're rich. Redstone block minecart too. I don't suggest redstone block because I don't trust it. I'm just using a regular one because it doesn't need to conduct any items relating. That's for that. You can either have 13 unstackable items, I'm going with 13, or you can have 3 unstackable ones and 10 stacks of any item. I suggest using snowballs for those 10 stacks. And it doesn't matter for what those 10 stacks are, make sure those are unstackable. I suggest shovels because they're cheap. You need 24 items of any choice. Make sure that they're 64 stackable. And I'm just using the wool color, but this is dirt. You need 16 stackable, so you can see that I have 16, and I can't make 64 like this. And you also need 1 different 16 stack. So you can see I can't stack them into each other. What you could do is you could have 7 of these, 7 like snowballs, but one of them is renamed. You need at least 1 fence for placing these minecarts, and at least 2 rails to redirect the rail to make it fit in the right spot. In your door, you're going to have 112 blocks for the storage, top storage, and in the door frame in total, so 112 of them. You need 58 of them. Of the door can be anything you want that are not redstone blocks or observers or whatever. 10 of them has redstone dust on them. So you have to be aware that if there were redstone blocks, you power. So you can see the emerald blocks have redstone dust on them, or repeaters. So you have to keep that in mind. You need 28 any block of anything you want. That's only in the door when it's closed. Only 28 of the 36 of them can be whatever you want. Some of them are using tape and must be solid. And 16 must be solid, and I'll point those out. But they have to be solid or the door will not work. Most of them are in the tape in the bottom. So and those are all the resources for this door. I suggest you get more than what's in here, just in case. But if you're just going to use this, I suggest you get more. So this is a lot of crafting you need to do. And we can start. So you 6x6 frame. You're going to go under your 4 blocks here because there's 6 of them. So you're going to count 1. I'm using pistons, but I'm going to actually use gold blocks just to show you. You're going to count 1, 2, you're going to count 5 blocks, so 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to place 4 sticky pistons facing up. Make sure to right click. You can remove those. And you want to make 3 more rows of this. So this is used to bring the pistons up to here for the tape. You want some storage. You need 1 here, so it's going to be sitting on the 2nd row. You're going to go 2 blocks here and place a sticky piston, remove those, and have those. And you can fill these in. So these can be anything you want. So they can be dirt or glass. So I'm just going to use what's over here for anything you want. But never mind, I'll just point them out. So if we go back, so the second source can be anything you want. They're not redstone blocks or observers. But these blocks here that I'm placing in the first source must be solid because pistons will be here in the floor and they need to power them. Otherwise, they can't do that. Unless your door is Xordin build 800 blunt 1 and they use a solid blocks on the floor here. So this is 4 blocks wide, and if you look in this 6x6, you see the classic repeaters dust, but this is 5 blocks wide if you count it. So what can we do to make it? Well, we use a thing that's really clever. You're gonna go, I'm removing them so I can place it. You're gonna find the bottom left corner, place a temporary block under it, and then a normal piston. Remove that. You're gonna place an observer. You also need a dummy block. Make sure it can be anything you want that's pushable, so not like an anvil or obsidian or a redstone block. And remember, you also want to go 2 blocks out, 3 actually. Delete the first 2 and place a piston. So this will be a slider. And whenever we're testing during the door, never test it before mine works. So when we power this, it's going to do this and retract those and retract those. And this happens at a decent speed. And that's why when you close the door, it's going to be these 2 first and then these 2 pop up. So it's a little weird. To make it push back automatically, what we're going to do is we're going to use our first of the hopper droppers. You need a dropper there, hopper there, put any item inside. It can be anything you want. So I'm just going to use the white wool because it's the color that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to get that. So you want to place a block here and then a comparator. So what this does is so when we power this piston, it's going to extend this block because the game sees that it's powered, and it's going to just push these across and one tick these guys. Well, it's going to be down in this case, but it wouldn't be down after. This dropper is going to push its item because it will be detected its power and put it in this hopper. This comparator can read through blocks. So this comparator checks for any containers around it within its area where it can read. In this case, it can read through this hopper. So it's going to get a signal, update this observer, and do this. So what you have is like a little slider. So to test it, obviously it works here, so now you can test it. You're gonna want to power these guys at the same time. I'm placing a redstone block here, so this piston gets powered and buds this dropper. This dropper is getting powered diagonally, instantly, and then this starts extending, so it's going to update it. And it's going to do this. Okay, that's the main thing for the bottom. Next, we're going to wire up our storage, but before we do that, we're going to grab some pistons and wire up our piston tape. So, we're going to have to place some blocks here. These must be solid, including these two. So these blocks here must be solid. I'm going to have white glass. I'm actually going to have certain glass blocks for what needs to be solid and what doesn't need to be. So these must be solid. These don't need to be solid. I gotta change all this, but it's fine. I can fix all this out. If you actually want to see the store live when it's built, go on the synergyserver.net. I'll have the name of what it's called in the description, the server IP. So you have that. To wire these pistons up, you're gonna. So there's this complex order of observers and hoppers here. So this order is a little hard to remember, but okay. So I'm gonna get my gold blocks, my temporary blocks. You're gonna go to the bottom. So if this is your front of the door with a slider, you're gonna go to the right side, go out, turn around, find this piston, place a block here. Block here. So you want to go from this piston, you want to place a block, and you want to go 3 blocks down, place an observer. Next you want to have an observer and a hopper, an observer, hopper, and an observer. I believe that was the order. No, there's 2 observers, not that hopper. So it's not a hopper at the end, it's actually an observer. Because this is going to be important for later. So you want to place a dropper there and a hopper here. This is mainly used in the quad, but we're just going to stop it there. You're going to get some powered rails and place 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And have this go across like this. To power these bottom ones, we're going to first place some things first. You're gonna want to go under these pistons in line with this observer line and place observers facing up. And then under here, we're gonna go 1 block under. So I'm just gonna keep my gold on me. I'm just gonna have this there. So 1 block under and another one, but this can be an observer. You're gonna place this. Actually needs to be a no block. This one needs to be a no block. So this no block is used because it's solid, and make this little pattern like this. And I didn't explain what this part is going to be used for. So when these rails power, it's going to update these observers when they're pushing these across. And what you can also do is do this. So you want to place an observer there. So you right click, place an observer facing up. We're not going to place anything here yet. It was actually here, my mistake. You do this, sorry. So this observer will update. This observer powers this hopper instantly, and it's a hopper, so it doesn't power this. This can actually just be an observer, but it doesn't matter because it's fast. This can't be a block because there's going to be dust here, but just because of how it works, it needs to be like this. It's going to be like this, and it's going to update to that drop. What you want now is it's a dust line, because yes, you need dust there, dust there, dust there. Let me go check really quickly with the order. So it's 3 dust and then the repeater. And I mess up the order. It actually needs to go like this. And there's going to be a repeater on this line for the quad later on. So this is the same thing. You want to place observers facing this way, so you can't right click, you have to shift. So you want to hold shift and right click on these so they all face towards the slide where the slider is. And before we place anything else, we're going to get a dust line, but it can't be dust because it's going to connect, right? So we need to put rails, and that's why we remove these pistons. So next what we can do is go back in here and place our pistons back. Make sure they're facing up and get glass. So when these update, it will power these and push those up for later on. Next what we're going to do is we need our white wool, and I'm going to go grab a lamp. This is our first lamp that we're going to be using in the door. Quite important that we have this system. So what we're going to be about building here is a little kind of triple extender thing. So the lamp goes here, and then this box here. Then you want to put an observer facing this way, observer this way, 2 solid blocks, dust, and this is where the locational part of this door is in. So you need an observer here, and like this, and make sure to place blocks there. So this dust is mainly used on the retraction of it. So what we can do is get a redstone block. I'm going to remove these pistons so it doesn't fail. You should see when we power this, those push up, so it looks like there's a gap there of air, pistons, all pistons, and then pistons here with air there. And when we turn it off, it's going to do this. So what would happen, these observers are going to retract, and it's going to bud the pistons here, and the only way to update them is with this dust. But if there's a dust here, you would also have to power this, because otherwise this won't update. It will only get a weird retraction. So this dust would power this piston, update all of them, but then this dust, these would work fine, but in some locations this dust will power this piston doing this, and this obviously breaks it. So that's that. So that's our little triple extender. This uses a lot in our door. So I believe that's the bottom. These side pistons are just going to extend the sides. And yeah, hopefully, like we're like 20 minutes in, and we're still in the layout. So there's that. We're going to line up our pistons now, so we're going to get our gold. And we want to place a piston under these. So if this is your front with the slider, on the side that has an air block, you want to place it on this side. Then you're going to go 1, 2, 3 blocks, get rid of the first one, place a piston here. Over here, you want to go 1 block here, so on the opposite side, place a piston here, and then go 1 under, and then 1 there. This is going to cycle around our only redstone block on the door, so I'm going to place our redstone block here so it looks accurate. So what would happen is there's going to be a block, it's going to automatically stop. So what you want to do to test it is you want to place a block here, you want to push it, push this, and push this, and then push that. If the redstone block ends up here, then you did it right. If it didn't, then you did it wrong, and you have to check that. And that's the order for the tape. Now for the top, you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It kind of replicate the bottom and have 4 pistons facing down. So make sure you have 4 by 4 of them. Our storage is going to go on the same side that our storage is on the bottom here. So you're going to place this. We're not going to place any inputs for them yet because, yes, in this order the door is going to be of the order of how things happen. So these blocks can actually be anything you want. They're not redstone blocks. These blocks are going to be solid. So I'm going to get dust. And you're going to place them here. So these are some simple inputs. And keep this dust in mind. I believe it's these, like this. Then you have 1 here, so 1 above. So what you can do is click on top of the redstone dust, place redstone dust on top. And you want to get a piston there and here. So this piston's on the first row, this one's on the third row. So it's like gap, piston, and make sure that their pistons are not sticky. You're going to go a fifth one, place one more above, and go like this. So now, that's kind of, I'm going to skip that part. You're going to go to the back and place, these is going to be droppers soon. And a while from now, we're going to get a repeater, like so. Then now, these are going to get butted from a dust here and a note block with a piston there. I believe that's it. Let me go check. Because, so if we go behind here, there's a note block, and it's going to be on a cyan block, but because that's part of the extension and part of the closing, but yeah. So we're going to head back, and also, okay, you want to place this on a cyan block, and you want to place a repeater with an observer. This is going to be useful now for the closing and later, because this is going to be a 0 tick, but this will power, so it won't matter, because the pistons are going to be still extended while this gets updated, which means the pistons below are still moving, so these can't push, otherwise they would get a pulse. And I think it would be like a 1.5 tick pulse. So now, for these guys, I believe I know there's a repeater here, but sorry about that. Okay. So the order, you're going to want to place an observer here, a repeater here, dust there, and this is why we need the observer. And that should be the inputs for the top of the door. There's always this, so build a little like thing there, get a yellow block, and get a note block for this. This is gonna help with updating pistons, otherwise your door's gonna break. So that should be the layout done. So the order of the door, we're gonna start with the input circuit. So there's one half and then another half. The other half will come after the top closing. The lever, you're gonna count, I believe so the lever is actually not located at the front, but it's located, I believe, here. Let me go check. I kind of forget some stuff since I try memorizing the store. So you're gonna place a block on top of this top sticky piston where the updater side is. Place a redstone torch on the side towards the front and a lever. So this already sends 2 pistons. You're gonna want to place a hopper and an observer, and you're gonna need a bit of redstone dust. So you need a hopper, observer, a block that's gonna power these 2. So when we flip it, it's gonna power these, but we still have to power those, which can be done with this. So half of them are in sync, the other half isn't. So sadly, that's how we had it. So that's one side. The other side is a bit more challenging. We want to place 2 hoppers facing into each other, so it creates this little redstone clock. And the one on the side with the redstone torch, I'm just gonna use, well, I'm gonna use snowballs and a sign, so I think it looks nice. So you're gonna need one like sign or 16 stackable item and 6 different ones, so you can see that they can't stack into each other, and that's very important. Or you can just use 7 of like snowballs but 1 renamed, or like 7 oak signs and 1 renamed, and it must go 6 snowballs, 1 sign, must go. These 2 blocks are going to be solid, and this is just the link to the bottom. Now, just like Armra and Jonny 6x6, I'm gonna link that in the description. They use 2 pulses to the bottom to do it, and that's the same thing. So what you can see, if you grab 2 of these and a piston for testing, it's gonna get 1 pulse. Well, obviously it's being butted, so it won't matter. It got 1 pulse, and then the next pulse, and it gets another pulse, and another pulse. So that's how you know if it's going to work. So the way that these items work is that when you unflip this lever, it's going to hard power this block, blocking this. One tick later, this hopper is going to unlock, letting go these items into this hopper. It will not go back and make a clock because this is locked. And they're going to feed one at a time. The snowballs are going to go in to here. And with the right amount of delay, this sign will increase the signal strength. So you can see. And that would do the next one. But there's no piston, so you didn't see it. On the opposite edge, when you unflip it, the snowballs and plus the sign has a signal strength. So some of the snowballs are going to run out, causing this to change. I don't fully know. I don't know the full amount, and then all the items are gone. It's obviously going to turn off. So it's a kind of a pulse extended by 2 pulses. The order for the way it goes down is 2 observers, a dust, 2 observers. So it's 2 observers, then a dust like this, then 2 observers like this, and I believe that, and it goes into a rail. So it's either a powered or an activator rail with an observer, and this would get into the orange circuits, but we're not going to do that now because we're going to be building the top closing. So I suggest that you place some of these blocks in, but I'm not going to. So we're going to do top closing now. These are going to push everything down. So we're going to remove this dust and place a hopper on it. That's fine if these pushed. Can reset them. So the way that this works is kind of weird. I believe there's a piston. No, there's a piston here, like this, which is going to extend. So this lever is going to power this, but this piston's going to update, pushing it up. You get a dropper and a hopper, like this, and then cyan wool. It's going to be cyan here, and place a cyan item in here. This is. Well, it's not done yet, but yeah. It's not done yet. Okay. So to finish off the top closing, you're gonna place an observer here and a sticky piston here on top of this hopper where the comparator is, and a block. So this is actually your entire top closing. It's super small. Because if this was a 3-tick, it would not work, and if it was a 4-tick, it would. So this is the perfect signal strength. Not signal strength, delay. So this is going to power this, and power this pistons, which will push in. And at the same time as the second storage powers, we actually want this line to power, so that these pistons don't power and break it, and only one storage goes down. So that's what this toggle is for. So it's going to get pushed up. Update this, it's going to get updated from that observer, push the blocks down at the right time. And after this goes, this is going to go up 2 ticks later and bud these, and it's with a 1-tick pulse. That's why the 0-tick pulse is important, so it doesn't bud those pistons and break it. But otherwise you would have blocks sitting under the floor, under the ceiling, and that's stupid. So it's going to go up and push the blocks down, and then since this gives 2 pulses, it's going to repeat the circuit. So it's going to push across, these are going to update, but this time it's going to actually retract and not power this line, which means that these sticky pistons can then power, pushing them down, and as they're getting pushed down, this line will power because this is connected and pushing it all the way down. So to test it, what you're going to want to do is flip your lever. I don't think you should test it now. Wait for mine to either break or not. So it worked, but this one didn't power first, and it did work. Half of it worked, half of it didn't. So that's why I don't suggest you trying it. So let me see what the problem was. So let's 1, 2, 3. So it looks like I think we were missing some pistons. And this one did not get an update because there was no bud. Let me see where that observer is actually located. Okay, sorry. So you actually need a hopper here with your observer and then your dust. Sorry about that. And in this hopper, you actually want to fill it with shovels or items because the extra moves might put an item in this hopper and break it. I'm just using shovels because it's cheap. So that should work better now. I don't know why that. I'm going to use solid blocks. So basically you can see what's solid, what isn't. So I'm going to use solid blocks here so I actually know what is what before I get crazy. Okay. And this is a toggle, so it's going to retract and not power anything. So I'm going to place blocks in here. So what actually, it will probably didn't work because part of. So you can see this time it worked, it's just that this was kind of messed up, so it kind of broke. So what you should see is there's no blocks in here. This is on, this is extended. Item is still in there. This piston is retracted, and you should see there's pistons with air, 4 air, pistons, air, 2 rows of pistons, and then your blocks here. And then you can unflip your lever. So that's the order. And we might as well continue with the input from this point. So I'm just going to remove all of this. Actually, yeah, I'm going to remove all of it because I think you should do the same. So this system came from Exojet and Arma and Jonny 6x6. I had no other way just to use it because why not? So you want to place 2 droppers facing into each other, like this. And you want to get 2 items. I'm just going to use red items because why not? And it's part of the red circuit, so there's going to be some items in this kind of spot. So place 2 items up here. Very important that there's 2. So what's going to happen is on the closing, you already know that this gets 2 pulses on the closing because it has to push 2 blocks down. So it's going to push across, that's 1, it's going to go down, and that's 2. So that's going to give this 2 pulses. And you can see the items are in there. And there's going to be a comparator output with dust, comparator, like this. On the quad, this is going to get 2 pulses, and I'll explain that after. So it's going to go and go back into here and toggle our side, getting ready for the tape. But on the extra moves, this line here is only getting powered 1 time because there's going to be blocks here, it's going to pull out and go across. And that's only 1 time, and it's going to go back up. So what's going to happen is that only 1 item is going to go through, but you can see still on because there's only 1 item. On the quad, it's going to go like this, then it's going to get a click, but it doesn't matter because there's no items. And then it's going to get 1 item, and it's going to go back up, 2 pulses, and you can obviously see it works. You want to place a torch here, and this is part of the input. And we're not going to put items in here yet. There's usually 4 hoppers here, but I did 2. I'm not going to put any items in it yet. And we're going to take an output through this no block, which is really clever. It's just like down there. We're not going to put items in there. And using this hopper, we're actually going to use it for the side. So this here, and I believe there's an observer there. Okay, I see it. So it's a weird combo. It's a weird kind of thing. There is a no block here, and you want to get redstone dust. And the way we're going to power this, make sure to shift, is using this. So this is going to power these 2 on the closing. To power the rest, we're going to have this here, but this is also going to power this 3rd one because it's a bud. It's going to power these guys here, and to power this bottom one, there's I believe it's a dust there, and there's a repeater, but I'm gotta check. So there is a dust there. Oh, I see it. Okay, so instead of that, you're gonna just place that. And it won't matter if this powers its piston. It actually needs to be transparent, sorry. So it doesn't power this piston, and the tape powers on the closing, which is obviously bad. Which powers all of them. So to test that, what you can do is give this 2 pulses and see if that goes, and get the items back up, see if they retract. Let me just check this for a second. It looks like that's not transparent. Oh, I see. So you don't need that block, just do this. Or you can have that block and have the transparent there, but I don't think it matters. So that's that's 2/3 of the input circuit. So to test it with the door, we're gonna have our 4 pistons. It's very important that there's 4 or it's gonna break. So what you can do to test it is flip the lever. It's gonna go down, our pistons will extend, and you should see what you had before, and to reset, it's gonna do that. Push your 2 items up. And next we're gonna do the bottom closing. So that's so to disable the top closing, you can either place an obsidian on top of this piston or remove the item from here. What I'm just gonna do is remove the item. And so to do the bottom closing, this circuit got fixed. We're actually gonna do the tape now instead. So you want to get like a slab. I'm using the glass and this. So this actually does a pretty. It does a decent amount. So it basically, and you want a torch facing upwards, and it's going to be on the top. So you want to place a note block here. That's why this is transparent, so it doesn't power the note block. And place a torch on top of this observer. Important. Well, it was just like this because due to a different design. I don't think it's like this right now, but it's only like this right now because of different stuff. So you can actually go on top of that glass, but I'm just going to do it. I suggest you do it how it is, like this, but do it like this. So what happens is this torch will get pushed. Well, this piston will push, powering this. This will power this dust, powering this piston, which will extend it. And then since this dust realizes it's not on because there's no block here, because yeah, it's gonna retract it really quickly. But this piston will get a 0-tick pulse, but that won't matter because there's nothing sliding. It also prevents this piston from pushing at any time. So if we go, you can see this one really fast, and that one like that. So I can show you. But with the redstone block, it's quite clever. It's going to push across the redstone block, but it's going to redirect this redstone, so it points this way, and it does not power. And we push it across using an observer thing that we'll get to after. So to push everything across, we want a little system. So this V-ish thing with dust. And you want to place a torch, I believe it's there. No, there's a note block. This is our output to the quad. It goes here, because if it's here, it's going to power that note block when it works, so it has to go here. And that goes there. Just place that. So when we have, just remove this, a block, it's going to do the same thing here, but we want this to power all the time, unless you would have this and it won't work. So when we place, it will go across. When we place the redstone block, it's only going to go across because this redirects it. So that's one half. The other half is a bit difficult. So you want to go under here, go 1, 2, place it and get a repeater. I can just go over here and make sure it's on 3 ticks. I'm gonna make sure that's on 3. Yes, so it's on 3 ticks. And yeah, so that's on 3 ticks, make sure. And what you want is to get an output to this piston from here. So you want a dust here, And to get the output to this piston, we go in a little loop, like so. So I'll hop it there, and this. So, and to make sure it powers all the time, you place a torch there. I believe it's on the side of the observer. It's actually sitting on top of an observer, but just follow the tutorial exactly how it is. So it's going to be facing this way, that. So to test this, you can place, this is special because of how the tape worked. It just needs to be like this. You can see it derps, but it has to be. And then this redstone block will obviously go across. This torch powers the repeater through the block. But with the redstone block, it's just going to power the repeater and go through. So to test if your tape works, you can just power this. It's actually pretty fast. And this derps, so if it goes all the way around, then you're in luck. And you can see it's actually fast. I think it's about the same speed of Sydney's tape, I'm not sure. This piston derps a lot, but there's nothing I can do about it. Like if this was a block, it'd still power this, but this piston would never get the update, so it doesn't matter. Now we can do the bottom closing, sorry. So from here, you want a rail there. Let me go, I have to go check. It's a weird order. So you have rail there. No. Sorry. The observers that we had earlier is in the wrong position. So it actually has to go like, sorry. Has to go like this. And we want to get a redstone dust and place it there. So we can, this is important. We might have to remove that afterwards for part of the bottom quad. But we're going to do that in a little bit. So we're actually going to do that now. So you want to get 2 items, any items you want. I'm just going to use blue. And you want to place a comparator under here, but don't do it yet because you want to actually remove this dust so it doesn't break anything. Get your dust back and place it back in here. And what you want is a sticky piston. Facing down here. So this actually had to be on a hopper, sorry. So remove this, this there, comparator, and then a dust in there. So this has to be an observer. So this is kind of like a toggle over here. And this is going to get 3 pulses, supposedly 2, but it's technically 3. And this comparator is facing the wrong way. Sorry about that, but hopefully yours was facing the right way into the piston. So it's going to get 3 really, really quick pulses, and what it's going to do is set up 2 pulses. So if I go like this, you can see how this comparator stays on longer than this, but if I go like this, it stays on much longer. So that's how we deal with it. And I believe the order of the observers is like this. I have to go check, and that's important for part of the retraction and also part of the extension. So you can see, gets output, goes around like that. So that's exactly what I did. So do what I did. So it's going to extend, go back up, and power this line at the right time to retract everything back down. So that's pretty clever. So let's continue. There's a rail here and a dust here. And you need a sticky piston here, facing down, 1 here, and I believe it's like this. So this is so what we know is that when we ever power this line, we always want to power this line. So, yes. So when we power this, it's going to push up, but it's also going to power this to push back up. And this is going to retract up, giving enough delay into a slab, or a glass in this case, or glowstone. And I believe it's 2 redstone repeaters, or yes, 2 repeaters. Make sure it's 2, otherwise that's not going to work. So you have 2 repeaters. This is going to do a lot of your closing on the bottom. So to test this, just remove these. What you should see, remember to remove the item from here. don't test it yet. Remember, never test it till mine actually work. You should see it pushes the first block up and then the second one up. So what you should see is no blocks in here and some in here. If this was your floor level, you would see 2 blocks. And to test it on the retraction, you want to place your blocks back in here and make sure all of them are filled in and redo it. So unflip. And you should see that all your blocks are filled in and there's air here. So what we do now is we just need to power this line, this hopper, and I believe it goes into a weird chain. It's this weird, really weird, well, this is in the wrong position, so this should actually be down, this should be over here because of stuff. So, just because of the way that it works, it's just that it needs this perfect. So you place a hopper under here, and an observer facing into here. So this will actually, remember from here, we're reusing part of the quad to go down through here and into our little triple, so it's a double extension, triple retraction, almost. And now we need a lot of delay to power to this line. So it does a little thing that will actually push the pistons up to for the tape. And that delay is a lot. So you go down here, around, you go all the way up to here, like this, and this is exact delay, I believe. Yes, this is a perfect delay. And inside of here, okay, I see it. Okay. So you're almost on the bottom closing. From here, you want to have a hopper, then an observer facing up, across, down. And that's actually your bottom closing done. So that should be it. Do not test it. See if mine fails. Make sure that this is retracted and this is down. So I suggest you put signs here. So this is extended, retracted. So go up. So what you should see is 4x3 blocks, air block, no blocks in here, air in here, and the rest are all pistons. For reference, right now we're just gonna have pistons here to push it down. And if we reuse it, it's gonna do the exact same circuit, but slightly different. See, it does that, but it actually extends up and gets ready for the quad. It does the exact same thing. It's just that this time you should have pistons, air, 2 layers of pistons, 1 storage, air, no storage in there, blocks, pistons, blocks. So that's actually the entire closing for the door done. And to test it, well, we want to start on our quadruple extender. Well, it's only the extension for it, so we can get it to work. So we're going to place an item in here, and we're going to start with our yellow, but I can't remember where that starts actually. So it starts, okay. So this is your little double extender. That's going to push everything down and back up. You want to place a piston here right next to this piston on top of the input. And this is going to act as your like kind of toggle. It's going to go up, but then come back down and give out an output. So you can place an observer down, get a repeater, make sure it's set on 4 ticks. Place this there, here, and repeater on 2 ticks. And that's it for the double extender on the top. So to test this, what we can do, actually, we're just going to test it. So what I suggest you do is you remove these guys, and you have an item in here. I suggest you disable the bottom, so just remove that block, and flip the lever up. So this obviously did that, but it's fine. And what you should see when you unflip it is this will go up and power these pistons with the bud. It should push these pistons down to here, bud them, updating them with here. okay? And it should go all the way down and then back up to this state when we unflip it. And you can see it worked. So I'm just going to reset the block properly. So if we go, and you can see it works. If we did not have this block, you would see what happens. You can see it completely gets destroyed. So that block is very important. Very important that it's like that. And to fix that, just shoot both items back up. You can then replace all of this. And we're going to build the extra moves right after we test, so don't test. If you tested that, make sure to reset it. Item here, remember, block there. This should be the entire closing for the door. And when we flip this lever, you should see that. And then it should be closed. And there's usually an item countdown, but we're not going to do that yet. So you should see your entire 6x6 door here. And then when you unflip it, you should see the entire top going, but it's not finished yet. And then this goes, but we still haven't lined up these to push up yet. And we're going to do that right now. So it's a repeater, and it's a 2-tick one. And there's a block there. I believe it's a block, I'm not sure. If it's not a block, it's a block. And now comes a crazy part of the door. So we're gonna reset the bottom, and you actually want to keep your pistons like this so you can test it. Yeah, so and before you unflip, well, it's unflipped right now, so yeah. What you want now is to get an observer there. I don't know how many. I believe it's 2. I just have to check. It's 1, 2, dust. Okay, I see now. So place 2 observers, and you have a dust. But we don't want it to fire this piston. So there's this hopper here for later, which will go up. And there's going to be a hopper facing this way, and a 4-tick repeater here. I believe it's like that. And you have block, a torch, and this is just part of it, it's not all of it. It goes here, and it's dust. This is going to make 2 burnouts. You're going to place a dropper here, here, and there. Make sure it's 3 droppers, and then here, and you can place your first minecart. We're going to build our extra move circuit now. And place your first minecart there. So right now there's, I believe it's a repeater here. Oh yeah, so you can see that powered, but to fix that we actually have to redirect it. And I actually forgot to include this. No, never mind. So usually you could redirect it with a tripwire hook, but I'm going to use a glass block because it's, well, I'm using it like that because I think it's more space and better. So we're going to build our extra moves. So once you have this, you want to delete all of these. Dropper, 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 dropper. You can place all your redstone dust back on. And it's 5 droppers and then 1 facing up. Then you have 2. Oh, sorry, no redstone dust here. Like this, which will go back into here. Next one, you want to remove all of this. Because we're going to place some stuff here. You want to place a hopper facing this way, so towards the back of your door. And I don't know if this is locational or directional. I've tested it, I'm not sure. So when you're building this, if it works at the end, I suggest building my top in a different world. So you can see if it works and let me know in the comments. So make sure it's facing the back, dropper facing this way, dropper facing this way towards the pistons, a hopper facing this way, dropper facing up, and a hopper facing towards this way. And yeah, so let me go check. Yes. So let me just go into game mode 3 so I can just check this. So you can see this hopper fades this way and this one goes into the dropper. It's just extra delay and make sure the items flow properly. So there's going to be a minecart here. So we want to get back to here. That's what our goal is. So it's a giant loop. Now what I can actually do is we can look at this loop, which is the legit loop. So we actually missed the hopper in there. So that's why there was so much hoppers and droppers in the door. In the items actually. So it's not facing this way. It faces, so this hopper will click on the observer, goes into there. Next we're going to place everything back, but do not do everything. So we want to place our mine carts. So it's going to be a pain, but you can place these 2 back. So we have to place 3 minecarts. So you want to get what's in my inventory. So fence, you're going to get your 2 rails and chest minecarts. So what you want to do, and you also want a piston, like an extra piston. I forgot to link that. You need like a piston and a button. I forgot to link that. So just, it's a sticky piston. We're going to do this one first. So remember, there's going to be items trying to go into here, but it goes into here because, and do not make it point down, otherwise this comparator this dropper will start sucking up the items. Really important. And make sure it faces towards the repeater. It can face this way towards that observer, but not towards this hopper, or the other items will flow in and we'll go get, I think it's about infinite quads, because there's so many items in the loop. So we're going to do this one first. So since there's not a lot of stuff surrounding it, you actually don't need the button. And you could just do what I'm going to do, but usually what I would do is I would get a fence here, I would roll it in, and then push the thing in. But since there's not a lot of stuff surrounding it, I can just do this. So 2 rails, chest minecart fits in, it's going to work. Next we want to do this one and this one. So place 2 blocks above here. You want a fence. I'm doing both of them at once. And you need these guys like so. So they're in between the 2 blocks. Is what happens is that this fence is actually slightly smaller than a block. Well, smaller than a block. So you can see I'm not actually getting cut off. Like if I go on this block, you can see that I can walk like around it, but I can't do it here. So the minecart actually hits the fence, and because of its type blocks, it's going to stay like this. Then you can just break the blocks. It's going to fall back down and stay like this, and it's within the hopper's range so that it can actually deliver the items through the system. This is your extra moves. Well, it's almost done. It's just that you need your output. And that's how we're going to finish off this final bit of space. So your items, you want 2 of them, are going to go in a weird place. So one item goes in this dropper here. This 3rd one, I believe. I can go check because I know all the items are still in. It's in the dropper where the hopper is. Sorry. So this item goes in this dropper here where the minecart is. Here. And the second one goes into this dropper here where this minecart is. And that's just going to help. When doing locational stuff, I don't know, you could try removing this dropper and replacing it with a regular block and putting these in between 2 blocks. You could also try increasing or reducing some of the droppers in this area, like this, or it can go straight in. So that's kind of it. So to test the extra moves, we actually have to have a quad extender done. So this is part of the quad. That's why I wanted to show you keeping it like this. Right now, I want you to take out your items so we can test this. And we're already an hour into this lol. So next, to test it, we're going to get a redstone block. And you can see just with this up here, it does almost everything. It looks like it's done, but it's not. So what we can do to fix this is this. It will push it all back down. Next, we're going to get a 4-tick repeater here. And this is where our sticky piston with our lamp is going to go. So it's a lamp because I can explain after. And you can place redstone dust. Make sure you do not block this off. Make sure you do not. Otherwise it's going to break and your top's not going to work. This lamp is here is because when this 4-tick powers, it goes into here. Well, that's funny. The redstone dust looks like it's in the Minecraft, but it's not. But so what's going to happen is it's going to power this piston. It's going to power this redstone lamp, but this piston's going to start pushing up. So what that means is if you do this, I'm going to remove that redstone dust. It gets powered and it moves. So it gives a slight update. So what you can see is that if you have this, it gets 2 super quick pulses and goes through. And that's what we're going to be using to, it gets a 0-tick to here. It's going to retract these up, but it's not going to power this because these are still extended, and it's not going to update because there's still stuff moving down here. So it's going to get a 0-tick pulse and pull up. And then we have to deliver a double pulse that's quick enough to do the that's quick enough to do the classic thing that's used in a lot of doors to make it work, and it's very, very useful. And it's a thing that is, I can just reset this out, but basically it's a thing that when you power this, and you're going to power it normally, and then do this. So what's going to happen is this piston's going to start retracting, because when you place the redstone block, you're going to right click, and it's going to toggle this, so the piston checks around for powerable things, so it's going to power it. It's going to power this. When you break it, this piston's now going to realize there's nothing around it, so it's going to break. But since you replace it, it's going to start retracting. But as it's retracting, it's going to bud this piston, because if you see it, this is diagonally powering. So when this piston's retracting, it's actually going to update this piston, extending, so this piston has the highest priority of powering, because it's retracting, it's going to update. And then if there was an updater piston, it would work better. So if we did a thing like this, it works better. So that's what we're going to do here with our lamp. You saw that there was 2 quick pulses, so we're going to have an observer here, and I believe it goes, I can't remember the order of the observer thing. Okay, so there's going to be a little repeater thing. No. You're going to place a repeater 1-tick. It's going to lock this repeater. By the time this signal is still going to go through before this locks, so it won't matter. And it's a 1-tick, so it doesn't matter. And place this there, so this is going to power at the same time as this, and this is going to power 1-tick later to make sure it works properly. This should be your quad extender done. So there's this quad extender. It works in the exact same way. It's just that this is faster than this. So what we can do to test it. So the top is actually almost done, surprisingly. So we're going to test out the closing and then the extension, and then all the way back up. Hopefully I do not forget anything. Do not test it. So you can see it's almost done. It literally looks like the door almost. And then we're going to finish off the bottom. Well, it's going to do the first quad extender, and then the bottom. It's going to go up, so once we do the extra moves, we'll do the tape, and then the bottom retraction, and we're done. So yay! So don't place any items in yet. Your output will be coming from over here, but we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our item in there. Flip it, but I didn't realize this was actually powered. So we're just gonna, if yours was like this, just reset your pistons and blocks, but don't. Just keep it like this, but disable this. So we're just gonna remove the first 2 storage blocks, and we're gonna unflip this. So this is gonna retract, not power this, but this is gonna retract and power it. And you can see it fully retracted up. That's the entire quad. Really, really small, really fast. If you want to see that again, I can do a cool thing. And so far there's no problem. So you just give that a 1 tick and send this retracted. So if the double sender does what I showed you earlier, gives a 0 tick, does double pulse here. So that's that. Next, we're going to finish off the entire top with the extra moves. So you're going to get line. This is the color of the circuit. And this had to have a lot of delay. So have a comparator here, very important. This here, lime. Here with a 4 tick repeater. And then a sticky piston here with a block. So what this is going to do is it's going to have enough signal strength to turn this on once and then off, but this is going to stay on for 4 ticks, so it won't matter. So it's going to extend power in this block, pulling the blocks up, and it's going to retract, and we're going to get an output using the updating of this dropper. But if it's an observer, it's not going to work, because every single time that line powers, it's going to power this dropper break. So that's why we use something really clever here, and that is that we use a hopper. This hopper can only get powered from this observer, but it won't get power from this because it would go through, but it can't because it will power this, but it's not a solid block. Like, there's no observer here or something to go through here and power it. It's just getting power from here, so it won't matter. We're gonna have an observer here, and then have a hopper here, an observer. So this is what we reuse. So if you remember from the other doors, like I believe it was Armored Jonny and Exojets, you would power this line, you would retract it, it would pull up, and then start the quad, because from up here it starts the quad again, and you reuse the quad. So but in my case, we don't do that. So because we want to reuse the 0 tick, but we don't want to reuse the quad, otherwise it's going to break. So we had only this much room left, and to fit it all in, and this has to be glass or slab, and you'll see why in a second. You want to grab a repeater, 4 ticks, and observer. Otherwise, it's going to power the topper, make a clock, and break. Then you're going to head to here, remove this, observer, and there. And that should be it. Do not test it. So you can put your items back in the droppers now. So put your items back in. So your 2 items. One goes in this dropper here, and one goes inside this dropper here. So this should be the entire top. Don't test it. Make sure your bottom is disabled. And we can flip our lever once we fill in our door. And then so it goes down. The items have actually moved through this line based on how they were passed. So now the item's not in here now, it's in here. And now the item is not in here now, it is actually gone through here. Sorry, that broke. The item should, so make sure the items are in the right spot again. Now I'm missing the item. Oh yeah, the item is now not in here. I'm literally searching for an item right now. Oh, it looks like I took an item out. So So it should be in here. Lime. So there's no, oh yeah, I just remembered. In this hopper, you want to fill it with shovels. That's why the item did not go through. Oh, shoot. Okay, so the item's still in there. Fine. Just broke some stuff. So, in... it was... So, in this hopper here, you want to fill it completely up. I'm using the shovels, of course. Now I have to reset this. Sorry about that. It should not be broken. So your block should be there. You should have 3 blocks there. One item should be in here because we move from here to here. And the second item should be in here. Let's give it a try. Please do not break. So it pulls up, and then the second block's gonna go. Then you can place those blocks back. And it looks like it's gonna go one more time, and it's not going to break. And you can check there's one item in that dropper, and one item in that dropper. So the top is now done. Well, almost. It's just that, well, it's technically done. It's just that we have the part of the tape. But doesn't matter. So your entire top is now done. Yay! No, sugar. So we have to use a little toggle thing to power our tape. So we can fill in our top. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get barriers and do it. So that's what I'm using. You can't get barriers if you're in survival. I always tend to put it on my inputs and where I can do them. I'm not gonna do them on everywhere. And I do them back here too. So your top is done. And this might be maybe like the only tutorial I've ever done or seen that has no mistakes. I'm not getting cocky. So to power our tape, you want to enable your bottom right now. Do not flip yet. So we still have to build our tape. So we have to do a little bit of observer stuff and some item work. So place a hopper there, sticky piston, and make sure it's facing down. Very important. So next you want to get 3 unstackable items and 16, I believe it's 16. And 16 items that stack to 64. Right? Yeah. And the following order has to go shovel, 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 16. This is very important. So when this goes, it's just like this hopper thing is just like over here with the 2 hoppers going to the bottom. All the items start with the shovels, go into here, and then the 16 go into here. This comparator is going to send the signal down. I'm just going to remove this, and it's going to get a 1-tip pulse. And it's going to retract and not power it. And the reason why there's shovels is that during the quad, we have a 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 signal strength here. And this is much more than 10. I believe it's 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15. So this is 9 signal strength. Sorry. I just didn't count it right. So this is 10 signal strength. And when the quad's going, the comparator has signal strength 10, but this is 9, so this will not break it, because otherwise the tape will power way too early and break. So that's why there's this 10 signal strength, and 9 will not go through, but the items do not go back only until the first item is put up here. But since of this 2-tick delay, the pulses are so quick that when the item, this gets locked, So you're literally listening to 2 ticks, item going up, the compare turning on, this turning on, this turning off, and then the items start going back. So this delay does not interfere with this. But the tape powers at the right time, but during the tape, there's still items in there, and the signal strength is strong enough. So otherwise, you'd end up with something that looks a little like this. So it's gonna start here. It's gonna go up. It's gonna go back down. But since there's still items inside, it's gonna go back up. This is gonna get 2 pulses and go back down. But during the tape is so fast that when this powers this piston, it's actually still being powered at the right time so it doesn't break. Hopefully that made sense. And if it didn't, I'm sorry. So we can put these guys in and fill these barriers. I'm on a server, so I can obviously get the barriers. So if you enable the bottom right now, you should have everything other than what's down here. And this was the hardest part of the entire door. I had to message him hi. I can't receive back. So when you flip this, so it's gonna close, it's gonna retract, is the items, and it only gets 1 pulse. There's a little cooldown, so you have to wait for this. So there's no subtraction thing, you're just gonna have to assume when this is ready. So I suggest like an anti-spam thing. So if you want one of those, I suggest you go to, well, I don't really know, but so what should happen is this will push down, but the right amount of items will let this work at the right speed. So when we go, see how this is not powering because of how fast it is? Then it's going to go up, get that one, it's going to push down, it'll retract up because this is still going, and it's going to get 1 more pulse, and go like this, back up, top's done, and that is almost everything for this entire door. And so far nothing's gone wrong, and I've memorized most of it. That's good. Right. I changed my skin. So yay. So this was an easy part. I actually got this part from an original version back on Redstone, and that version was like, it was a kind of version where it would give 2 pulses to this line. So what would happen is this pulse would go, because the only way to power this was through that line. So we would have to give it 2 pulses. So we'd get 1 pulse and go down to here. There's nothing to retract other than air. Then it's going to retract and give a pulse to here. And then we're going to reuse that pulse by powering this dust at the right time so that when these gets reused, the pistons will be here and able to grab this and pull back down so it doesn't break. So hopefully that made sense, and it's quite complicated. So it's not that complicated, it doesn't matter. So I suggest right now you take out your 2 items, and we'll start building. So what we need is 2 droppers, just like the top. So a cool fact is that these droppers are actually in line with each other, I just realized. So you can see there's 2 droppers there, 2 droppers there, they're actually in line. You want to get a blue block, this is the blue circuit, and place 2 blocks here, and then this one here. So your comparator. And I don't quite remember, because I know there's a 2 tick here, I believe. I have to go check the delay. So there's a 2 tick, and then hoppers. Okay. So hopper, observer. Place a hopper there, an observer here. So this will get a 2 tick pulse and give the 2 pulses. And there's going to be an item, so I'd suggest you remove that. And the way that this actually does a lot, well, it uses up a lot of space, but it's fine. So what happens is the tape's going to go around and fire that. But during the door on the bottom, this will go and power this milk block and power this. But there's never any items in this dropper. Okay, so it can't, like, there's no items clicking, can't do anything. Until the redstone block comes around and powers the snow block. That's why we don't want a torch here, otherwise it won't work. And oof. So when it comes around, redstone is going to come around and update this dropper. It's going to push down, it's going to go through and give this line one pulse. And then this is going to go. So the blocks are now ending up here. But this time, when it pushes down, the item's actually in here now. So then it's actually going to, the system's actually going to go through. So then it's going to push the item back up into here, do the exact same circuit again. So retract this. And then it's going to power these. But since we're going to have a T flip-flop here, like so, we're going to build the part with the minecart after, it's going to power this line, so then the pistons will arrive here at the right, like, second to grab these pistons and bring them down to here and get ready for the retraction. That was a mouthful, and it's also my favorite part of the door. So it's going to look like this now. We're going to give this a 1 tick, so that was actually a 0 tick, I think, or a half tick. So the toggle consists of this minecart. As you can see, it's going to get pushed up with these dusts at the right time, and it uses some cool sort of entity stuff. So we're going to have a piston in our bottom corner, and we're going to get 2 note blocks specifically. 2 note blocks here, and to place our minecart, we're going to want to get some two rails, and do not place your pressure plate yet. I'm using wooden. I suggest you do the same. And if gold is faster, I'm not sure if it's going to work though. So you're going to have these 2 glass, because we're going to have believe a sticky piston here with an observer. Right? Yeah. We're going to have this, 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 and that. So it's going to extend, not power this, retract, and power the bottom. And I don't know why this is glass. This is just part of an old version, but just keep it like this because you never know what will happen. And to power that bottom line, we have an observer. Very important, it's an observer. So I have an observer there. It's going to derp this. And right now, we have to place a slab. And originally, to get 2 pulses through here, we were originally going to have like a cauldron. We were going to have like this here with like a comparator here and a cauldron that would move up and down to give the last pulse, and we'd have like stacked minecart stuff over here, so that when the piston would pull down and then it would send it through, and then the minecart fall like on string, and then go, it's just stuff. Okay, so we want to place our slab halfway up from the block. So if you place a block over here, you want to not here, but here in the half. So this, well, we want a piston here, but not yet. We need we're almost on the door, but I just want to show you what this does. So it's going to go across really fast. It's just really slow because of the door over there. But it's going to go, the rest of the block's going to appear there. Power, it's going to go 2 pulses. It's going to go up and go back down. Okay, so that's what it did. Next, we actually want to reuse this entire circuit again. So by reusing it, we're going to power this. So when we do it again, it's going to power this. It's going to go through, pushing these across instead of retracting nothing, because there's actually blocks here, to here. Then it's going to power them because they're connected. Then they're going to retract again. And it's going to push the end back up again. But then this is going to power this line. But there's pistons here, so it's not actually going to retract anything. Then this is going to extend and retract. and then it's going to power the next part, which will power the 2 items over here. So the pistons are actually here, and it's going to get 2 pulses because there's going to be 3 pulses going through because of a system. It's going to extend this, go back up, and then retract everything down. So we're on the home stretch. There's a hopper here, a 4-tick repeater on top. Must be 4 because of the way that it works. It could be 3, but it's really slow if it's 3. So we place this. This is almost done. So this does everything except for 2 pulses. So this is most of everything. To finish the door, place an observer here. I think the observer's there. I believe it's there. Yes, it's there. So we're gonna make a weird, funny kind of system. So place this here, this here, here, and we want to place an observer facing down. And funny, we need an extra piston. And if you have your pickaxe, I suggest you just reuse this piston to push this in. Get a stone button, pretty easy to make, and then reuse this piston to put it back. So what this does is this here is going to extend up because it's connected. It's going to go up. It's going to push this up. But then it's going to, since it got pushed up, it's actually going to update. So it's actually going to pull it back down. This is going to 1-tick and update that observer. So this is going to go back up again. But since this 4-tick gets 2 pulses, it's the first time it's not going to work. Because what's going to happen is it's going to actually power this note block, but it's also going to bud this dropper. But on the second time it won't, so it actually will work properly. So this is going to be extended. On the retraction, just pretend it retracts. This is going to retract. This is going to retract, giving an output. I believe this is actually extended. Yeah, this is extended actually. So this is going to retract instead of extending. So it's going to be here. It's going to retract when it goes up in there. It's going to go back down. It's going to power this when it's here and go over. It's going to give an update, but it's also going to update from this observer, giving 3 pulses, including this one going through, finishing our door. Yes, so to make sure it works, what we want to do is place a redstone block there, a torch, and then doing this, and 2 items in there. Do not test it because you don't know if it's going to work. And if this works, we should be done. So don't test until this is done. So we can see that it's going all the way around. Here are 2 pulses. It's going to track, go up, go down. It's going to jerk out. That's why I don't want you guys testing it. So there was a problem here somewhere. There was well, the pistons are aligned properly, so that's why I didn't want you guys to test. So I have to get this fixed. So if you did test it, like I told you not to, you reset it. So I have to find a problem with this. What's the problem? Doesn't seem to be a problem. It looked like when this was retracting, this got more pulses. Let me test this out. Oh, I'm just missing pistons. Okay, so... Oh. Okay, looks like that worked. Does it work on the retraction though? Let me look over here because this is technically the working design. It's just that That's 4 tick. This is 1 tick. This is down. This is down. This is extended. That's up. Did the 2 items power? No, that's fine. Maybe it's because this powered too early. Maybe. I'm not sure. Let me try this again. So I don't have like a schematic of the store. So what I could do is that door's an exact replica of this. So what I could do is I can use a command that would tell me how many blocks are in the door, and if I'm missing something, that door is all the blocks. So what I could do is I could just see what is missing here and what's missing over there. Well, it's like find the difference, but yeah, common sense. So we come over here. I'm gonna remove these 2 items for now, just to see what happens. So that's down, that's extended. I see. So it looked like that this was powering this line multiple times. Or it was just that it was too quick. So let me try without the piston. Well, without the piston tape. So we can see what the problem is. So if I go... So that got more pulses for some reason. So you can see that got more pulses, but why? When this extended, this powered. Is there something missing from... It doesn't look like anything's missing. Because it got more pulses for some reason. Is it because of the speed? Oh, I might have found the problem. Oh, no. So we're gonna have to use some world edit here. So I'm gonna have to turn on my stuff in chat. Okay, so it's gonna tell me some stuff. I have to do the same thing for this one. So that's also sensitive. So let's check right now. Well, this air shouldn't matter. So let me just reset all the pistons the way that it was. Well, the air doesn't matter because, well, we're going to be filling in the door with like barrier blocks. So let's reset the door properly. Let's have all this. Let's put all of our barriers in. I spoke too soon with the problem. So, let me do that again. Oh, it's obviously not going to work. Let's do that, and this is first position. So now, 36 air, 66 air. Well, it's obviously because of barriers, so that's fine. 103 observers, 74 sticky piston, yes. 68 smooth quartz. I don't know what the issue is. I don't think it's that. Shoot. It was not meant to do that. So, nope. This. I have no idea what the problem is. Let me see. I don't think this has to do with the materials. I'm gonna remove this and see what happens. And then this would have went. So let me remove that. But then it got more pulses. Well, where would it get more pulses from? It would have had to got it from here. So if I remove this piston, will it work? Otherwise, I have no idea. I got extra pulses from where though? So it doesn't look like it has to do with that. It has to do with something. Is there solid blocks somewhere in here? Nope. Because it goes up, but then when this slides, this powers. Is it because that's going through? This is why I don't want you guys testing. Where is it getting that extra pulse from though? I just remove all of this. That works fine, it's just that, is this getting powered from anywhere? Is it, like, is one of these note blocks getting powered? I can tell. So, let's see what's the issue. Could be because of solid blocks. Unless it's at the front. Okay, I think I found the culprit. So it's getting powered from this, which gets powered from something. So it's coming around here. So if I go to game mode 3, is there an item in here? There's no item. That's that. Is something powering the hopper? Wait, is that piston extending at all? Hold on a second. Is this piston extending at all? Because up there, I see now. This piston is getting pushed. So we found the culprit. Okay, so I want you guys to test your bottom. It took like too long. If your bottom works, then good job. If it doesn't work, then do what I'm gonna do. I guess this is a fix. So I can see what happened. So we have to fix all of this now. So what happens is, is that it's getting updated, so it's not going to work. So if you kept all this, like me, actually unlike me, sorry. So you can just do this, place this, this is extended, this is down, this is down. That's the quad. You can put our 2 items back. 1 in there, and 1 here. There's always a problem. So if you're 6x6, my 6x6 actually, if the 6x6 works when you do it, so it all resets, so there's 2 storage blocks and all the pistons are down, then good job. I'll tell you what to do after. But if it did what I did, remove this block and remove this here for a hopper. That should clear it up and make it work. So now I have to go back down here and reset these pistons. So do that, reset your pistons. Should work. If it doesn't, then I don't know. So it's going around. It should work. Okay, it looks like it's gonna work. So, if that worked with the redstone dust there, then good job. If that didn't work, replace this block and put a hopper there. So, that is the end of the 6x6. Hopefully you enjoyed. Sorry it took so long to actually fix this door. We're gonna make sure it all works. So let's unflip it. So the first block's going, bottom's going. The second block goes, the tape house correctly. The top works as we tested already. Now we wait for the bottom that we tested again. So it's gonna work. So that is the 6x6 door. Hopefully you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for 40 subscribers. And I am working on a 7x7 one. You can see over there. And I will see you next time. Bye bye. Stop recording.